his daughter for treatment to a government facility, then somebody will have to ring up and say, Doctor Sahab, beti ko bhej raha hu, thoda sa dekh lena. You cannot today go as a citizen to a health facility. Forget government. I have taken one of my younger colleagues who was having strokes to probably the most prominent hospital in Delhi. And his own brother-in-law was heading the department of neurosciences in that hospital. And he had phoned his earlier team saying, he's being brought, he's my brother-in-law. And we had to wait for 90 minutes outside for the doctor to be able to see him. Finally, IAS officers tend to be alpha male in their approach. I tried to sort of, hold myself back. Finally, a barge in and we created a little bit of a thing, and that's when this young colleague of mine was attended to. The point I'm making is that the health system that this country operates, whether it is the private or the public sector, is deeply broken. I can share with those of you who are interested, there are studies which have actually examined the quality of care and of treatment advice being given at the primary level. And the average of let us say 100 treatment plans were examined, which is diagnosis plus prescription, for 5 conditions. It's a study that I have read very deeply. And the conclusion was the percentage of people getting the right treatment was 2.15%. It makes absolutely no sense for me in the finance department to give even a single naya paisa to the health minister, because the entire public health system is today a trading of IOU. I will call you when I have a problem, and when you get caught for not being in the hospital and instead doing private practice, you will call me and I will ensure no action is taken against you. This is the IOU that is actually operating. Now this has to be transformed. It is a design question. And why am I telling this to a CSR audience? It is again individual capture versus collective action through individual activities. Now, what will it take to solve this problem? According to me, it's very simple. We will have to help government establish a system by which the first port of call for anybody, maybe the chief minister, maybe a rickshaw puller, maybe a bricklayer worker, your first port of call should be actually a phone call. A phone call to a care coordination center which says, Beta, मुझे पिछले 15 दिन से सिर दर्द हो रहा है. I'm having headache for 15 days. Today the technology exists and it's on my mobile phone. I'm sure you all have seen that also. There is what is called an adaptive question engine. So you just type in headache. It will tell you what is the next question to ask. It's typically how many days have you had it. Then the next question would be, and it's adaptive, right? Depending on the answer, the next question is actually adaptive. And then the next question typically is it there on both sides? Next would be when you bend down, does it increase? Have you been having temperature? Now, what precisely the kind of questions that a doctor would ask you when you go to a clinic or to the OPD and say no problem. These have all been now formalized to the collective wisdom of the profession and is actually available as an adaptive question engine. So imagine a scenario where in every state of India, whether you're a rickshaw puller, the first port of the call is actually a phone call, where your case history is captured. The problem today is that I looked at it very deeply. Is that today no clinician writes the cases. They write the medicines and for this. How do you even know if this is an appropriate diagnosis? How do you even know if this is the appropriate line of treatment if the cases are not being captured? So the point I'm making is that there are significant design questions that need to be solved, which can be solved. And it is only when a community comes together, thinks of this as every part of society. So London Milliken's wife, Mrs. Milliken, has a lovely sort of phrase, Rohini. She calls it Sarkar Samaj Bazar. He says that we have to actually take a Sarkar Samaj Bazar approach to our problems. So if health is our problem, then what does Sarkar need to do? What does the Samaj need to do? What does Bazar need to do to solve for that? And in that, what can we, as ordinary action people, do to be able to solve for the problem, but at the same time, articulate this new vision and help both Sarkar, Samaj and Bazar, all three of them, chart a course of action, which is to produce a new imagination. As you must have heard, I used to be at one time the chairperson at the National Council of Teacher Education. I was a regulator for teachers and teacher educational institutions. You know what's the fundamental? I'm moving away from health now to the second example I want to share with you. I'm also happy to take any questions if you're interested. According to me, India has another big problem, and the big problem is a labor market problem. And it's very simple. You can't figure out the difference between a donkey and a horse. There's nothing wrong in a donkey or nothing good in a horse. A donkey is sturdy, requires much less care, can go on for much longer. A horse probably can go much faster, it requires much more care. So they actually serve two purposes. But the problem with the Indian labor market is that we do not know who's a donkey and who's a horse. By the way, this is a problem with inside government as well. I used to head many departments in government, and when transfer for posting or departmental promotion committee I'm chairing over, I find that I can't make out the difference between a donkey and a horse. That simply doesn't exist. I will give you an example. So my foundation that I work for, not my foundation, the foundation I work for, what two goals that are very important for us is reduction in neonatal mortality and maternal mortality. We believe that, and we work in the deeply in the two Indian states of UP and Bihar, we work in other states as well. For the longest time, we knew that we have to reduce neonatal mortality and maternal mortality, but the quality of nursing has to improve. I'm moving from culture to education to tell you why there's actually a labor market problem. It's a design question. We spend millions of dollars bringing some of the best nurses to go from facility to facility in UP Bihar, mentoring and handholding the nurses there to improve. And we have a lot of analysis of the work we do, and we studied the effort. In fact, for 48 months, almost what is called our nurse mentoring intervention, we studied that work and we found, and rightly so, that even after 48 months of our mentorship effort, the nurses whom we mentored were the difference between what they were doing and people whom we did not mentor was statistically significant, not a positive direction. So it was a worthwhile effort. But another thing that we saw was, not only was this positive, the direction, the slope of the curve was very interesting. And that is, if we went beyond 48 months, it's a downward sloping curve, that the 50th, 60th month maybe, this both of them become one and the same. What was the problem? Nurse mentoring alone could not solve the problem. That's you had to change the way young people chose their nursing colleges. The information doesn't exist. Same problem with teacher education. We do not know which college is a donkey and which college is a nurse. Where are teaching and learning outcomes better? Where are career opportunities better? Information doesn't exist. Then, what happens after you become a nurse? Can you actually move up your career by dint of your hard work and expertise? Nobody knows. Nobody knows which nurse are horse, which nurse are donkey. Which means that actually, the way that the certification process run by the regulator we didn't get into any of these things because as a foreign foundation, how can we ever even imagine that we can make a difference there? So what did we do? We did what we could. And you saw the result, downwards looking. This is when I entered the scenario. Using my tertiary education expertise, I put a proposition. And we went to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh and we said, sir, would you like to give jobs for your women? He said, what kind of a question is that? Which Chief Minister would not like to give jobs to your women? He said, yes, you can actually significantly transform the number and quality of jobs if you give your women, provided you transform the way you do nursing regulation. And if you do that, you actually begin to secure global, national, regional, and local jobs for women through nursing. The point I'm making is that the moment we produced a new and we had a role for Sarkar, Samaj, and Bazar, because this is now what I'm now indulging in over the last 1.5 years, is to actually improve the certification process and the information symmetry that exists in the marketplace for nurses in such a way that quality nurses can actually move up their careers. Why? First of all, we are developing specialisms for nurses. Number two, we are helping the regulators establish new certification processes by which individual competencies are tested. The attitude, skill, and knowledge required for those individual competencies are actually tested separately. And every nurse in UP will be given a digital CD, which is held by that. Not all of this can do. But if we can produce a vision and an idea for a collective action, where Sarkar does what they need to do, Samaj does what they need to do, Bazar needs what to do. So we not only do the capture typing we do that in the context of an overall plan, and that, according to me, will unleash the human and financial resources needed for collective action. But it's not that as if, surplus money is not available with it is not as if they are unwilling to give. We need to produce. It's a new imagination that will actually transform the way our country is able to. Thank you, Dr. Matthew, for sharing your enriching experiences, which is thought-provoking both in the health and legal sectors, and of course, a source of inspiration for all of us. Now, I would request Ms. Tanvi Dogra for giving a presentation. After that, will be followed by a group photograph to capture this moment. Over to them. Good morning, everyone, and namaste. My name is Tanvi Dogra, and I'm associated with Different Research and Development Society. Well, today it's a great honor and privilege for me to present my organization in front of you all. So, most of you must be aware about JSUD organizations, some may be not. But if I tell you that JSUDs have a very strong legacy in education, then you will get some idea like what kind of impact and work we have done.
So these are the legacy of gesture education in India. Our centers, our street centers are XRI Jamshedpur, Xavier Institute, Social Services Ranchi, Royal College Chennai, St. Joseph College Trichy, XIM Bhubaneswar. Then we have Lipa in Chennai, St. Xavier's College Mumbai, and St. Xavier's College Kolkata. Our nature of programs is like that. Our presence is all over India. So we have so we have 60 plus social and development activity centers. In all of India, as of now, we have 307 schools. We have 66 colleges. We have 21 technical and skills training institutes. Apart from that, we have 16 management institutes and 4 universities. But we also believe strongly in the social responsibility. That is why, under the social initiative of Jaipur Congress of South Asia, India, we are working in India since 2006 in 9 social development programs. Under JRDS, we have under JRDS we have two wings. One is resource hub for social development activities, and one is research program. Under resource hub for social development activities, we do a lot of capacity building workshops. Right now, we are doing a lot of workshops online and offline for inclusively of all our partners. But moving forward, we are widening our scope and we want to reach broader audience so that more and more stakeholders can benefit from these workshops. We are doing a lot of digital marketing, baseline studies, impact assessment, and social media, website design kind of workshops, storytelling, communication related workshops. So we are open to be for this kind of workshop for your organizations as well. Under CPS, as I shared that we have 9 social development centers, which was 6 slides. These are our 9 social development programs, skills training, we have social protection, education, formal and non-formal, peace and reconciliation, ecology and environment. And we also work with youth. Then we have mining and minerals, refugee services, and last is migrant welfare. The first program we have is skills training. Under skills training, we empower youth for employment skills. So far, we have reached thousands of beneficiaries, and we are working in 18 states through 17 institutes. We are running right now 42 courses, and we have 50 strong network partners all over India. These institutes provide both formal and informal courses. We also have NSTC and UNOS certified courses. Some of the prominent institutes we have National Traditional Institute New Delhi. Then we have VCare in Jagi, New Delhi. We also have Ashadi Community College in Bihar. And we have Xavier Technical Institute, Gujarat. These are all the prominent universities, but we also have more in presence and all over India. These are few images that I shared. This is from the top. We can see tribal women. They have recently done their course in beauty culture. Uh, we are running various courses like bakery, plumbing, and computer, digital marketing. These are courses there. Under social protection program, we focus on reducing poverty and we support vulnerable groups like women, widows, women, and girls. We also provide them financial support and also healthcare support. So far, we have reached like 3,25,000 individuals in 15 states. We have a strong network of 155 network partners, and so far we have done 803 community projects and all over the city. These are a few images. You can see that community people are engaged in a program. This is a self-help group picture. Then under education, we have both formal and non-formal education. We are providing like sponsorships, books, meal nutrition, free. We also believe in strong innovation ideas. We also do capacity building of our teachers. And so far, we have been like for children, and we are working in 20 states, so 1,200 centers, and we are working in 125 parts. So these are few visions with the STEM education which is early childhood development. We also take care of WASH activities. You can see the comprehensive evaluation study. We also do impact assessment. We have the research and data analysis activities. These are few basic accomplishments. We have done baseline studies, carried out baseline study for the legal cell for human rights in Assam. We have also conducted a baseline study and different regulatory for one of our partners in Karnataka. We have done impact assessment as well. In education area, we have carried out assessment in over 250 schools, providing critical insights that guided educational strategies and policies across South Asia to improve learning outcomes of the students and also to enhance the students' support facilities. Apart from that, we have also done the study of the impact of COVID-19 in rural areas across 12 states. This is our overall presence. We are working in pan-India, the 20 states. So far, we have reached 2 lakh plus people, and our technical partners are more than 100. So this is the map where we are working. And now we are open for more collaboration and so a lot of activities we are planning to do. You are all welcome to participate and collaborate. Thank you, Conclave, for giving such an elaborate presentation of the work being done on various sectors. Now we shall have a group photo. After that, we'll go for a short tea break. And we'll be coming back by 11 o'clock. By 11:30. 11:20. By 11:20 for the first panel discussion. So let's assemble here for the photograph.
Please move fast. We are already.
थोड़ा सा no, हाँ हाँ stairs will be fine. Yeah, you can go up.
That will be more convenient. That's something.
That's fine. Ready? Okay, fine. That's fine.
मैं कर देता हूँ, आप अपडेट भी कर देता हूँ। चलो, ओहो।
Good.
ആദ്യമായിട്ട് നോക്കി വായിക്കുക അങ്ങനൊന്നും തോന്നിയില്ലല്ലോ. ഞാൻ എന്നിട്ട് സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റ് വീട്ടിലിരുന്ന് എഴുതുമായിരുന്നു. ആൾക്കാരിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റ് തരുന്നു. കാരണം നമ്മൾ എഴുതുമ്പോൾ
വന്നായിരുന്നു ഇന്നലെ. ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് രാവിലെ വന്നേ. ഇവിടെ എത്തിയപ്പോ അച്ഛൻ പറഞ്ഞ മീറ്റിംഗ് പറഞ്ഞു JRDS.
It's coming for Christmas? Next year only. Busy.
എപ്പോഴാ തുടങ്ങിയ മീറ്റിംഗ്? എപ്പോഴാ തുടങ്ങിയ?
9:30 തുടങ്ങുന്നത് 10:30 തുടങ്ങിയെന്ന് മാത്രം. അതിനു വേണ്ടി ഒരു പുതിയ ഡ്രസ്സൊക്കെ എടുത്ത് സെറ്റാക്കിയത്
എനിക്ക് മെസ്സേജ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
തകടൊക്കെ. അയ്യോ, ഒരു രക്ഷയില്ല. ഒരു പി പി പ്രസന്റേഷന് ഒരു സൊല്യൂഷൻ തന്നിട്ടില്ലേ? അതെങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യും?
എന്റെ അടുത്തും വന്നായിരുന്നു മീറ്റിംഗിന് 2 ദിവസം മുമ്പ്. ജാൻസിപ്പോൾ എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞാണ് ഒന്ന് വരണം, എനിക്ക് ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനുണ്ട്, പ്രസന്റേഷൻ എന്താ ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യണം, നീ മുമ്പിൽ തന്നെ
പ്രസന്റേഷൻ വെറുതെ മാറ്റി വേണ്ടത്.
മുമ്പിൽ തന്നെ ഉണ്ടാവണം, പ്രൊജക്ടറൊക്കെ ശരിയാക്കാൻ.
YouTube live is going on, but nobody is watching. We'll cut the live and just video we will capture. Okay. Upload it.
What is the link for
No, we are closing the live. We will upload it later. Was there? It was there. It is going on, but closing. We will upload the video afterwards. Yesterday at the leaving time, I told him a meeting, and I told him how to put the name plate.
Now what is it now?
I don't know. Then he also saying, yeah. Hmm? Oh, dear. Whatever job he gives me, I have done it, and I have done it. I have not slept today. I was making that profile card one. He told me that he will be bringing one stand. I told him that they have one. Then he told that I will bring. I have 10. I don't know whether that flux will follow because I told him to taper it. Then he told he forgot to bring. I think today he bought that. I don't know. Maybe he has bought or maybe. This will be very bad. Unprofessional. Now father told to cancel the live and just record the video. Because nobody is watching. I told the father yesterday evening that said, do you need the link today? So he said, it is already late. And the program is on. No need to share the link. Where is he? Where is Sabyasachi? Okay, that is good. I told him several times yesterday while fixing the flex to put the table. I said to put one table, that kind of table, no? Height wala, bigger one. Hmm. Now he will put that table, see. Uh, yeah, it is very small. Hmm. Okay.
Now, I would request you to please kindly be seated. And I hope you all have your tea and coffee. Now, let's begin with the session 1. That is on ecology, environment, climate change, sustainability, and biomass. So I request Mr. Ashish Jha, the CSR universe, the panel discussions, and Mr. Prabhakar Jain from PS Group, Mr. Vivek Prakash, Julian Bharti Foundation, Mr. Baiju Kurian, Ms. Lady, Mr. Satyaprakash from FXB India Suraksha. So I request all the panelists, dignitaries to be seated. The moderator of the first session is Dr. Ashish Jha, and each of the panelists will be getting around 8 to 10 minutes. And if you all have any queries in between to ask, in the schedule there is a QR code for session 1. So you can scan, submit your queries in that, and the panelist or the moderator will revert back to you. So over to Mr. Ashish Jha for the first session.
Music. Anthony, music. Music. Udayji
उदय जी को बुला दीजिए वो Sound.
Okay. Okay. You have done the registration? Registration? Can go through that.
The centralized economy is not we have to build the local economy. And this is one of the work that we do. So we more than this is very helpful. And we designed this is another project that we photographs taken by in this photograph here also. This is one of the structure. This is how we are able to get the access to water to the field. Moving to the next quickly, actually, these are the next. These are the how this actually this is another on the left side there is a way of the damage land itself was protected by stars and the project. So we are actually the land actually reducing and this is the task of myself. So this entire work actually this is the work that we are doing. The question was also how conflict and also so we can build this government to address the challenges of we can also contribute here. So this is the big so we talked about any discussion on water cannot be completed without thoughts of we have criteria. And so there are different aspects to climate action and sustainable practices that we talk about, discuss about. And one of the major concerns remains how do you how do we reuse, recycle, and reduce also, right? Distillery has been on the forefront of catering to the needs water needs in the bottles. So, my question to you, sir, is when we talk about multiple things, energy efficiency, plastic reduction, water conservation, what are your thoughts and what how do you see talk to like this then fitting into the larger vision and progressive mindset of achieving sustainability goal in terms of it's a tricky question. Really tricky question. Sustainability is in our people. So this really produces not only water, as you say. We have other products too. Yes, we are using plastics as a container for living the safety, of course, for water. By water, uniform. So, you're looking about the business, I think focusing more on the business model. Uh, every year we are having the numbers of water increments because in India, 54% of the population doesn't have pipes in their homes. And everyone in this building, they are not using fiber. Right? So there should be availability of water. We should recognize that this company is giving water at a very nominal price to the people to in everything. About sustainability, I come to that. In 2001, when the government or any member of the government agency not will go about plastic recycling, this will go about that. And we started plastic recycling in 2000. In the year of 2000, we started plastic recycling. And you see that factories running. And from the last 10 years, there are use plastic
new will come. How much plastic we are actually using? We are collecting more than the plastics from the markets and recycling. And we are not getting this kind of high quality plastics back. We are getting only the low value plastics, the carry bags, or the single use plastics. And you can see it here. So we are collecting that and recycling. Till today, November, the November 30th, the data is 15,800 metric tons of plastics. We collected and we recycled. So in India, there is no other company can quarterly come this and say like this. So we done it. So what we are doing is here now. And all the plants, I think you can see that we have more than 135, like 36 plants. I know those are active. So all the plants are very Japan-based, high amount technology we are using, and our water rejection, the water rejected from the main plant, I would say, which is 5%. In India, there is no company can claim this kind of category. So, this was really given the back of the product. And that I was also we are investing in our branding and staff programs. So, how you think about building a brand? How you think about what you want to be is and is that you should do. If you are not planning the right thing, you should not come. Value based, high value based, sustainable based thinking, that is the only one thing. So, three things involved. The basic mantra we use and decide. We have total advanced mantra that is for redesign, re-engineer, and relax. The new these three things are in your all of our processes. So when a new person entering the business in the world, the first 2 days, he may be really busy understanding the real values of the company and how we promote and how we are bringing that into the world. So it's not very good connect means I think we clearly know that we have more than 7,000 students and there are again shopkeepers, there are communities, there are hospitals, there are orders, there are institutions, everywhere directly that they are not using any third-party links. So the real value that is from the top that is reaching the world, and we have a very good evaluation system, so we get the parts from the real customers. So we are working on that. So these are projects we have two many other projects. One is for system change program, and that is shared, and one is IUMI, that is our art conservation program. That also we started in 2001. But there are some families suicide attached to the village of Hyderabad area of Gujarat. So we started China construction, that is now we have 280, 85, 83. And we check arms, just with the port inspector. So that is when we hear about that. Check is at 26 million, 26 million liters of water, it is falling for the people. Those are in the Indians. So at that time, the capacity is one of the 26 billion liters of water that we are getting. So what happened? So you showed some dams. So what happened means there are many villages. There is some marriage happened in the last 40 years. Because the neighboring villages are not ready to send the girls to attack villages. Just to the word that the people, the main people leave us and this is they are only given to the female members of the family. So my daughter will be always in a rough situation. So my husband, right? So when the Chikam comes, they started to get like a me. So the is now the villages, young people, those already migrated to this city. We have very beautiful villages. How many? What are the villages we have in only Gujarat? Well, there is a huge, I think it's all yeah.
towards mitigating the climate action and developing that resilience plan. Coming back to, if you look at it, India, to my best of understanding in terms of the geopolitics and where do we stand in terms of the policy framework around the climate aspect, we are doing better than any of the developing countries and the developed countries. The problem and to which Vivek has technically pointed out and which you started, that where do you fit the Samaj in between the whole discourse around the climate and the related action. So, and the best way to begin with that effectively, we work in 21 countries, but in India we are registered as an Indian entity, and it's been almost 17 years of operations directly implementing programs across 30 states. We work in different domains, livelihood, education, health, protection, safety. Now, the point of bringing these different areas, that when you bring climate, where you fit in the rights, you will see that this discourse is somewhere connected from the rights perspective. So recently, when you look at since we're sitting in Delhi, how the Supreme Court jumped around the climate, the air pollution discourse. They did not say that it was just Delhi and it is affecting one particular community. They look from the rights perspective. And that's the translation and the transition we have to bring it underground. So when we started, and as I indicated with the experience of FXB, when we started working on livelihood, we thought that how do you develop that entrepreneurship skill within the women folk, just not limiting on this SHG creation, etc. Now, today when we are looking at the same domain, we look at how the climate has impacted the strategy of the community. And so as somebody who's designing an intervention in the community, and to give an example, we started working in one of the Western district in Assam, almost like 8 years back. But there was no footprint of that system. So we were completely based on the agro-based activities for us, the most suitable activity over there. And last 4 to 5 years, we started experiencing the floods, and the water is also coming to the land. Now, as a strategy, how do you respond to it? So we look at the diversification and the alternative options, where we move from agri to the non-agri products. And that has somewhere developed that level of resilience within the community, because you don't lose your time period in just managing the flood and the related impact. So now currently we are engaging with almost 5,000 women folk, and we have created a brand, and I would like you to visit, which is called Mahora Wheels. Now we have started and promoted that the handloom, because they are traditionally well suited as an weavers. So we just diversified and brought that market piece to them. So now when you look at Assam, all this look like culture. So now these are the products which is very competitive with the fabric product. So this is just an example of how do you bring in and bring that element of resilience which Prabhakar was also bringing in. Because when you look at that, this is the reality now which you have to live with. Now, how do you change your course of action? We do work extensively in the area of human trafficking and child protection. Now, earlier I used to get those cases where the justice migration has led to human trafficking. So now you don't have those connections which you cannot ignore it. You may be addressing from the water point of view, from the recycling point of view, but somewhere this integration has to be taken. Let's say when you are working in these tribal communities where I don't have a reach, you may say that we don't work in this right aspect. But since they are getting impacted through this, how do you bring in this element to say that we are covering it up? We can't say that this is not my area, and that doesn't mean that you bring in other NGO. You see that where the synergies is coming from the government side. The government have a lot of the department who have the ability to work on this. So how do you bring them and make them accountable? And the third piece This is all about, how do you educate in the young minds? So my colleague from FXB USA, they run a very fantastic program called, Climate Advocate Program.
Yo,
And we have reached out to almost 4,000 young adults across the globe, where we just teach around the climate advocacy. So how do you integrate the climate and see what impact it has created in South Africa? It is not seen in India. So we customize the whole curriculum based on the season reality. So those are three bottlenecks which I feel is strongly important to integrate in today's discourse.
मैम जी सॉरी आप भी बिजी हैं क्या? वो उदय जी बोला 4 बैटरी देने के लिए 4 बैटरी हाँ डबल है
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Prakash. So,
हाँ
while you have shared a few insights on
ओपन कर दूँ
different aspects of how do you deal
हाँ
with
उदय जी
those
को चाहिए
challenges,
मेरे को नहीं
uh,
उदय जी को
I
चाहिए
would just like to understand because Mr. Jain, Mr. Prakash, and Mr. Kurian, they represent the organizations which are supposed to contribute to
Yeah,
climate
just
goals also, right? All companies in India, big companies especially, because they use huge amount of energy and operation, multiple things. So, what are few sustainable practices that you are proud of in your organization, and what learning does it bring to the stakeholders in India? So I'll just begin with Mr. Jain.
So, basically, sustainability is now a very integral part of any business entity. So, while I'm representing the CSR, but still, I would love to share about, for example, in our business, around 22% energy actually is coming from renewable sources. It's directly producing our within units only. This is just one of the examples. We are actually conserving water around for around actually 20 times more than what we are consuming in our business. So these are the facts and figures which are there, but there are a lot of compliances are also there. So that last question that you asked actually was just add to one thing that actually India climate action strategy actually is quite aggressive. Despite we have a lot of challenges, I will not go into that part whether 100 billion is commitment or 300 billion. It's a international political agenda, and definitely if we deal with the climate, that funds is required, and those basically develop on the cost of the environment, they have certain obligation to basically invest in that. So it's a that fact. But in our all action actually we need to think about the climate, right? If we are educating a boy or a child in the school, he should be sensitized enough about his own action about the climate. If we are working with the farmers, then we need to talk about the climate friendly agriculture practices. If we are talking about the auto industry, then they should be aware about actually even maintenance of vehicle is also very important. Actually, that can also a significant contribution in the climate. So actually, each one of actually need to think about the climate, and industry actually is not very aggressively coming forward to basically address the climate agenda in their own business operation aspect. Not from the CSR. CSR is an additional thing that they need to do it, but their own business practices they are quite aggressive.
So, actually, I'm from children area too. And so, sustainability, especially when TNI is the first organization who have created a framework so that the organization can measure it. If you will measure annually, you can. So they have created a framework through which you can measure and then you can report also. Certainly, if you will measure, if the report submitted, you will be able to manage properly. So in 2000 they came to India. They started, in fact, 10 companies to JRDS to give them insights about sustainability then they can start reporting. So and they companies from different sectors, from chemical sector, mining, public, private, automobile. So we were lucky that we were part of that consortium of
You have the charges?
So we learned a lot. And we started our first reporting in 2002-03 after that training. And from 2002-03, so you can see on our website, so all reports are available there. So many companies like Tata, Reliance, SAIL, ONGC, IPC, they never name a company, and then it has given a lot of learning to improve in your organization. And then certainly when you are able to report, it means you are doing something manually, you can report. So in the first report, you won't believe we were only reporting on 68% of the indicators which were there on that paper. Slowly we improved. So we found that we are not having some system to measure. You have to develop that system. And then slowly there is a provision to report on your proactiveness also. There are something which are compliance, like ERR is now compliance part. So EPR is now compliance part. But again, what you also like me, that proactively they are working on conserving water and they are now water positive also. So these are proactiveness part which you can report also on that platform. And then you take the goal also, and you can align those goals with SDG also. Earlier it was Millennium Development Goal or SDG. So you have to align goal target with MDG and SDG now. So these are framework which we adopted, and it has given a lot of learning and a lot of opportunity to improve within the organization. So this is one part where we are proud that we become part of this consortium. We learned a lot and we improve within the organization also. And we are now giving this knowledge, giving this learning, sharing this learning with other partners also. So like it's called green supply chain. So you did not just require to improve yourself, but in fact you have a lot of other companies who are your partners. You share your learning with them and try to influence them also to improve upon. So that learning also you done, you no doubt. So as you explained, Samaj Sarkar and Bazaar, so it's a business case. So that has given us a business case. Earlier our investment was the bank. The loan now is many financial institutions are giving loan to your company based on your this sustainability area on reduced price. So that social bond also we got, this green bond also we got. So we are proudly we can say that the sustainability initiative has given us a lot of business advantages. So in terms of getting long-term contract business also, finances and less prices. These are some advantages which we got. So it's not just for the sake of society or environment. This is for your own business, for your own growth, your own sustainability. And we are proud of that. And that we become part of that consortium of the now, and we are improving and working on this.
So we will not take more than a minute. So sustainable practices begins with the vendor to even the distributions. So facilities, I think the plans are in plans works only in the 200 kilometer radius. So and we are using JRDS and solar rays, implements over in our inside activities. So the vendor also we will not allow them to take the materials inside because all workers are going everywhere, so they can collect it and come back. So when they are coming back, they will challenge. So there are a lot of things to practices we are saying inside out. All plans services, all solar supports. So everywhere, how much we can reduce the carbon footprints? You see those. I think everyone knows that. So if we do that, that's a practice we are using. So I think everyone will welcome to the company's and see how we work. And thank you.
Raj was saying that the framework in which he started, the organization started measuring the kind of sustainability efforts that are being taken, and that brought lots of learning and insights, right? But in many cases, we are just creating a solution once the problem arises to our door, right? Now, towards preparing ourselves better, right? What are the future challenges that you see and for which you are today? There might not be a solution as of now with you for any future challenges, but what are those future challenges? At least we need to talk about those challenges. मुझे नहीं पता है अभी जो 20 साल पहले हम एयर पोल्यूशन पे कितना बात करते थे और 25 साल पहले कितना बात करते थे. Now this has consistently increased the discussions around it. Now what are those future challenges that you foresee coming, and then there might be solutions around it also?
There are different challenges from different perspectives. For example, a company like us, we were more worried about the packaging industry because the packaging is very critical for food products. If there is a minor changes in the regulation level, it will impact your entire business strategy. So for me, in near future, because I am not talking about it on like 5 years or 10 years, because I don't believe in the prediction for 5 to 10 years time, because considering the scenario that we have across the world. So in near future, I feel that from my industry point of view, packaging is one of the very critical challenges. From generic point of view, everybody is talking about the AI and machine learning. So we are actually not prepared for the disruption that is happening across the world because of the AI and machine learning. So there are certain advantages for that also, but there are certain preparedness is also required from our side. For example, in automobile industry, we are already seeing huge unemployment thing, or maybe the machine learning aggressively entering into that and doing the work that the X number of workers is required for certain works, now actually very limited and few workers is required for them. So there's creating a problem for the engineers particular domain. Similar thing will happen in different industry also in future. And for that actually we need to basically re-evolve ourselves. We need to basically learn a lot of things as we need to unlearn, we have to relearn, and then actually prepare ourselves for future possibilities. That is the truth that I would like to say.
Well, I think when I'm listening to this and I'm looking for, do we have any comparison to put some kind of a disaster in front of you, and then you see that there is any preparedness available for you, and I'm sure nothing else than the COVID comes to your mind. Now, when you talk about the climate impact, you cannot see from one lens that where it is impacting. So it will impact your health, it will impact your businesses, it will impact your livelihood, it will impact your whole, question around your presence and your well-being. Now, when you think from this lens, then I think you have a solution coming in. So I don't want to say that you have water crisis coming in. So I can recall 2.5 decades back when Dr. Conclave was the president and my father was in the bureaucracy, and for the first time he got orders from the government of India that we have to start thinking of the rainwater harvesting systems. It was almost like 26 years back. Now the point that from where does it come? They did not talk about the climate. They say that we have a water crisis and we have enough water. How can you preserve it? And that's what the vision idea Dr. Kalam was coming in. And the point that we are after 26 years, so you cannot say that you have a choice now to adopt or not. Everybody has to. The point that it should come from the compliance or from the compulsion point of view. How do you integrate it within? As I said, that it's not that somebody approached us as a donor and said that can effectively is capable and you give enough to adopt some kind of a resilience factor and come with some ideas. The answer was no. They said that they say how they are being impacted out of it. And in this context, one of the best examples that comes to me, that how do you make community accountable for it as well? It's not always not always the businesses. And for the first time, we created a water security plan to engage in the community in Jharkhand, in the tribal place. So it's your problem. You don't want to be facing it first. The government, they say that we are doing X, Y, Z thing, but the first is you on the forefront who want to be affected with it. So how do you integrate to this? So as a solution, and that will have sustainability in it, and you don't need to change indicators on a time-to-time basis. And that's where the resilience aspect comes very handy for you. So when the livelihood aspect was impacted, we said that we missed out on integrating the social protection schemes which is there in the country. So you don't have to just jump to gun to look from the health and the livelihood aspect of it. And that's where the resilience aspect is a solution and the book.
So, India is really good in developing parallel systems. We have public health care system, we have private health care systems, we have IPC systems, so and Ayurveda and so there is an integrity anyway. So India is very busy in developing education systems also in different kind of parallel landscape. Are we really thought about the community ownerships? Okay, government can put the role on excellent producers responsibility. Is there excellent and consumers responsibility in India? Okay, now using this water bottle. If you are drinking it or how bottle, you are just leaving there. India is very means we don't have a drinking water for 54% of the Indian people. Then also you are not ready to imitate, and after that we are not putting the bottles into the right mix. Are you doing that? No. So we need to think about that.
What is the solution?
I come to the point. So I think more about that. There is around 20 rupees per kg. If you are going into roadside, the Kavadi wala, you call Kavadi wala then. But I call we are the Kavadi wala, we throw everything to everywhere. So difficult to teach. So this is going for fabrics, right? Only 5% will go for fabrics. And Modi board and all fabrics what we are using have these pet bottles. So this is coming there. So my question is not about the recycling. Are they really committed to the country? Okay, the government is doing such a mission. How many of you are attended at minimum one day for such a mission? The government is banned 19 single-use plastics for the sake of the world. Right? For the sake of the world. So are we really stop to use that banned plastic items in our offices, in our home? Are we still using other plastic carry bags? The thing is, we all need to realize where we are living. We say about sustainability, but we are not practicing it. We need to be getting more into the system where we can do, and we need to teach that. Yes, Mr.
So government organizations with nations.
Not only government can give a policy. Practically, who should do this? The NGOs, the corporate can give the real guidelines. They have the innovative ideas, technologies, everything with them, and they will make it. They give it to the NGO partners, and they need to implement. Everyone work together. Then only this will happen.
Right. So, Mr. Prakash, my question is, what is the problem? Do you think that there is not enough incentivization for doing these kind of work? For example, दूसरे का किसी का कपड़ा डाला है और अगर ₹1 इसको रिटर्न करने में मिल जाए किसी कंज्यूमर को, I don't know if it is going to be effective. Or what kind of other incentivization plan, or what would be the effective strategy of actually getting community engaged, consumers engaged? What are the thought process?
I will not go by the immediate solution of incentivizing your effort, and that can dig you into the whole political debate about the freebies. This is much beyond this. So when you first started the total sanitation campaign, look at the whole investment which was behind the behavioral change aspect of it. So what you are seeing and what I'm looking is much beyond the incentivization, because this is for you to begin with. But what we are looking at the sustainability part of it. You want to incentivize, you start investing on this behavioral part of it, and that will continue. Because as I said, it's not just going to affect you and me. We can have our mitigation based on the resources we have. You can have air purifier, the other cannot have it. But the point is, it's impacting both of you, right? So the choice is there. So you need to let them know that you are also going to be impacted with it. You will also have a health crisis.
Do you agree that investment is better than incentivization to make these efforts to help these efforts?
Actually, investment will not bring the solution. Solution will come from innovation. And that can only happen through industry or getting up where research can happen, and especially the students, young generation, they are having a lot of ideas. I always believe in young minds, and they have a lot of ideas. If they are bringing with ideas and they are having collaboration with corporates who can commercialize it or who can invest in those ideas, then only those solutions can become can come into the society, and it can create further impact. So I will give you examples. So like in our organization, we realized this, and now this year we started one incubation center for social startups. So where the social entrepreneurs who are having those ideas, innovative ideas, to bring solution for these social issues, environmental issues, and then we will, so in our incubation center they will be incubated, we will invest in them, so we will give them grant and then investment so that those ideas can further grow, and then they can bring, they can create impact. So these are some examples. So we are just creating examples. So now looking to this, many other organizations will also come forward, and they will also, because many incubation centers are there. More than 1100 incubation centers are there now. More than 1100. But again, all for pure business startups. So Zomato is support this social idea to bring some solutions for this environmental issues. So there is requirement of such. There are few organizations who are doing such, making such cohort for such startup, but they are in isolation. That's why we thought we will exclusively bring where we bring the social entrepreneurs as mentors who are already established in our organization. Then again in the society, and take those ideas so that more and more such ideas can bring impact in the society. So things are happening, and we still believe that the next generation, so we will not bring the solution. Actually, the next generation will bring the solution. Because they are more aware than us. We are thinking that they are not aware, but they are more aware than us. I'm hoping that they will bring a lot of solutions. So like for energy is the basic. So we are taking solar energy. Sun is giving energy, and with that energy, the entire universe is running. So we brought some solution also. Now many corporates. So earlier we were thinking how a company can run on solar energy. We are continuous operation, chemical company, or chemical company, manufacturing company. We are 100% on solar. How? So the thing is, let it be process. So you generate solar energy, you give it to grid, and you take from grid. Suddenly you are now we are ready. So and again that is also commercial benefit to the company. You are
a very key important stakeholders, we have to enable them to find the solution, help them in doing innovation and adopt innovative practices. Korean spoke about how future preparedness is very, very necessary when you are in an operation or in a business which is very sensitive towards climate resilience, climate action, and climate and sustainability. I'm thankful to Mr. Satya Prakash also for giving that perspective on an independent perspective, in fact, on how organizations are working on different aspects of climate change and what should be the ideal way. In fact, जब Mr. Vivek Prakash ने हमें ये बताया कि the framework and measurement is something which is very necessary for every organization to adopt. So I would just request, since you are enlightened, sir, about those practices, so these thoughts must go across industry and encourage more and more organizations to adopt those framework, measure those matrices, and see what progress they are making year after year on those fronts, so that we at least reach our net zero and sustainability targets that we are setting for 2017. I'm also thankful to Mr. Dale for sharing those wonderful insights on water and overall thoughts on climate action that companies need to take. Very wonderful thoughts and insights coming from you. Thank you. Thank you. So any question I would like to take if you have, otherwise we can just wrap up. I'm already told that we are running short of time.
For any queries, we have a QR code, so you can scan and send your queries. And a big thank you to all the participants of the session for sharing their inputs on the given topics, and a special thanks to Dr. Ashish Jha for moderating the session. They deserve a big round of applause.
I'm yet to pursue doctorate degree now. I'm Mr. only as of
Mr.
now.
Ashish Jha.
Yeah.
Now I will request Dr. Sebastian Raj to present certificates.
So just before that, ma'am, I would just like to ask a question on behalf of the audience I've been presented to. You have said you are recycling plastics, which means basically not used new plastics, or it got only reduced the percentage. I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand this question. So you have said you are recycling plastics, which means basically is not using new plastic. No, I think you got it wrong. So what Mr. Kurian wanted to say that whatever production that they are doing, what are operations that they have, they are trying to reduce, recycle most of the plastic waste that is being generated by the operations, and trying to recycle it towards multiple things that might not be like using the same plastic in new bottle, but then there are multiple ways. Am I right? Correct, Mr. Kurian? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks a lot, sirs. I request Dr. Sebastian Raj to present the certificates and saplings to the participants as a token of appreciation and gratitude. So I request Dr. Sebastian Raj. First to Mr. Prabhakant Jain from DS Group. Let's give him a clap. Mr. Vivek Prakash from Jubilant Bharatiya Foundation. Mr. Baiju Kurian from Bisleri. Mr. Satya Prakash from FXP India Suraksha. Mr. Satya Prakash from FXP India Suraksha. And Mr. Ashish Jha from CSR Universe. that is of Education and Skill Development, NEP 2020 mandate. I would like to request Dr. Shweta Singh from CSR Universe. She'll be moderating the session. Mr. Dhruv Narayan Mukherjee from King Oil and Gas. Before the next session, we have a short presentation from the JRDS team.
Namaskar. Good afternoon to everyone. Since we are running short of time, we'll have a brief introduction and a presentation about JRDS. Jesuit Refugee Service is an international organization, and I am Father Stephen Raj, the Regional Director of JRDS South Asia. Many of you may be aware of India's international obligation to refugees protection. Though India is not a signatory to 1951 UN Convention and the 1967 Protocol, but India has adopted 1948 UN Declaration of Human Rights. Therefore, India has an obligation for refugees crisis and for its care. We all know that India is a home to a significant population of refugees. Over 2 lakh refugees are staying in India, mostly from Tibet, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan and Myanmar. And JRDS South Asia, mainly with a triple-fold mission of accompaniment, service and advocacy, reaching out to Sri Lankan refugees in Tamil Nadu, Myanmar refugees in New Delhi and northeastern India, and Afghan asylum seekers and refugees in New Delhi. The article number 14 of UDHR mentions that everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. Therefore, over 2 lakhs refugees are in India, and very few human organizations like JRDS, a humanitarian organization, is reaching out to these refugees and asylum seekers and forcibly displaced population in India and also in South Asia through mainly education in emergency, livelihood, and psychosocial support and emergency response. So I would invite our regional program officer Ankita Gupta to present a short PPT on our works and activities made in India.
Hello, good afternoon all. I'm Ankita and I'm the Regional Programs Officer for JRDS South Asia. Today I'm here to take you with me on a little journey which will give you a glimpse of what we do in India. So JRDS was basically founded in the year 1980 and like Father Stephen already mentioned, we work with the forcibly displaced population across South Asia, and in India we are working only with the refugees and the forcibly displaced persons, and in some instances we also work with the internally displaced population. So as you can see, JRDS mission is to advocate, to accompany and to serve the refugees and the forcibly displaced people so that they may heal, learn and determine their own future. So our values are very much rooted in the fact that the people whom we are serving are able to realize their own potentials and they are able to heal themselves, they are able to grow on their own and not get dependent on humanitarian organizations or development organizations in the long run. JRDS strategic program areas very well aligns with the UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and also the UNHCR's Global Compact on the Refugees. But our programs are very well rooted in the reality of the communities at the local level. So although we are obliging with international policies and laws, we are also very well rooted in what the people actually need at the grassroots. And we are very much interested and also working towards having high impact result oriented programming with a consciousness to remain inclusive of gender and needs of various age groups among the most vulnerable. We heavily rely on community feedback in terms of developing our programs. So, in India, we are present in 3 different locations right now, which is Tamil Nadu, where we are working across 29 districts, where we have the 104 camps for the Sri Lankan Tamil refugees. Then we are operating in Delhi, where we work with the Chin and the Afghan urban refugees, and in northeast part of India, where we are present in Mizoram majorly, and then a little bit in Manipur, trying to support the new arrivals from Myanmar resulting out of the ongoing conflict. So as you can see, JRDS is very well in collaboration with the Rehabilitation Commissionerate of Tamil Nadu State Department. And in Delhi and in Northeast, we closely collaborate with UNHCR and we work along with several other collaborators at the local level, which includes some of the members from the local governance and the village councils. Going to our programs, we are operational in the area of education, where we work through complementary and supplementary education centers, and basically this is non-formal education support that we provide to children and youth who are enrolled in formal education centers. So as you know, the environment in which these children and youth live, it's not very conducive for them to continue with education. So our aim is to support them to be able to continue their formal education even when they are in exile, and so that they may continue to also weave a future for themselves and not get lost in the whole process of being in exile and not being able to tap opportunities that comes their way in the future. In livelihood, we mostly work with the women refugees and forcibly displaced people through income generation training and programs, and we also have different categories of livelihood trainings which are designed based on the feedback of the community again, and we also check the viability of those programs in the market. So how is it going to yield some results? Like if we are giving trainings, is it going to offer them some kind of income generation opportunity in the host community in India or not? So based on that, we offer certain trainings like cooking and baking related training. Tailoring is a very popular training that we have, embroidery works, beauticians training, and certain home-based self-help group work. One of the major, or we can say breakthrough livelihood project of JRDS in India is with the Sri Lankan Tamil refugee women who live inside the camp, and they are running reusable sanitary pad production unit. Talking about equality, I think this is very relevant to how we have been talking about environment and ecology. And not just producing those reusable sanitary pads, but also generating more awareness on sustainable menstrual hygiene practices in the host community, schools and colleges. And these are the refugee women who do it themselves. And not ending there, they are also supplying reusable sanitary pads to the women who are just arriving newly into India from Myanmar. So they are also helping other women groups who are, de facto refugee persons in India. We have community building programs, like in the morning presentation of JRDS, they mentioned reconciliation. So what is reconciliation? It is seen differently in different contexts. So in the context of India, we talk about peace building and community building, or you can say social cohesion. So that is also one of our important programs, which is very well integrated in our education and livelihood programs, because we try to look at, creating a holistic way of living for the people whom we are serving. So we are also ensuring that people have a mutually benefiting relationship with each other in the community where they coexist, which also allows them to, access resources that are required for their well-being and for their sustenance in the country. Next, in terms of healthcare, we are mostly focusing on psychological health and not just, bounded to the physiological health aspect for the refugees, because again, a lot of people do have concerns related to psychological health, which in turn affects your physical health as well in the long run. So we focus on offering psychosocial care, and at times on need basis we do offer medical and physiological health related support. Emergency response is not our niche area of intervention, but still, because it encompasses the overall well-being of a person. If there is a requirement, we do intervene in the emergency sector, especially in times of COVID or any other emergency situation like cyclone or other natural disasters. So, although we have a lot of impacts in JRDS, but I would like to restrict to some of it. And one of the major impacts is that we have community-based learning centers which are running these education programs. And like I said, the situation of the children and youth from the target community is not that conducive in terms of offering that safe space to those children. So our learning centers really help them a lot in offering a safe space where they can, share a platform which brings them together as part of solidarity, and also have mutual learning, and it really helps them to grow cognitively as well as emotionally. So we do have 220 teachers across India who are also trained regularly, and most of them belong to the refugee community, the teachers who are working with these community members, and they are the ones who are trained consciously on topics which are very relevant to the well-being of the refugee children and youth. Then we have improved opportunities for achieving self-reliance among the refugee women, especially. Like I said, most of our skill training programs are market-oriented, and the income generation has been really quite evident in the refugee community, especially if we talk about the Sri Lankan Tamil refugee women in South India. And a lot of refugee members have also responded that they have experienced improved mental and physical resilience because our program integrates community building, social cohesion, and psychosocial well-being aspects in education and livelihood programming. So that has also enabled them to realize their full potential to an extent. And since we have been talking about ecology, I would also like to mention that JRDS also includes ecological conscious practices in our programming, and we do have environment education as part of our non-formal education curriculum, which is conducted in fun and creative ways with children in the refugee community. And this is how the refugee members are also giving back to the host community while they are still in exile. Just to quickly see what is our impact in terms of number. This is what we say people serve. We consciously don't use the word beneficiaries. So we served about 47,065 people in last 1 year throughout India. And just in terms of education and livelihood programs, so we have benefited around 24,621 individuals. Psychosocial support service, which also includes the reconciliation and community building programs, we have been able to reach out to 28,077 people. And then these are just glimpses of our centers in Delhi and in Nagaland project, where we run the complementary education classes. These are computer and English classes at the JRDS Delhi Center again. Community building session at JRDS Delhi, and these are the Chin members from Myanmar, Chin region. Peace March, which was organized on the International Peace Day inside the rehabilitation camp. And these are the Sri Lankan Tamil refugee children. And this is part of our tailoring course, Afghan women who are involved in the tailoring program at JRDS Delhi. This is again from the rehabilitation camp in Tamil Nadu. The Sri Lankan Tamil women, there is this income generation program group, and they make a lot of home utility items to be sold at a very minimum cost. So they are helping their own community members and also selling it out in the local host community areas in the villages, and making the hygiene products available at nominal cost. This is a glimpse of reusable sanitary ware production unit, which is again inside the rehabilitation camp run by the women, all women group. These are some images from the Northeast project, where we are working with the new arrivals from Myanmar. It's a community dialogue meeting that we have as part of community building exercise. Teachers training. And these are some JRDS learning centers from the Northeast project. Complementary education class for children who are enrolled in formal school, and to help them to not get dropped out from formal schooling. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stephen Raj and Ankita Gupta, for giving us the glimpses of JRDS team and their areas of work for the community welfare. I want to make a small announcement. This is particularly for the participants of today's program. You can collect your certificates from the registration desk by 5 o'clock in the evening. So this is for all the participants. And moving on to the next session, we are running short of time. Next session is on Education and Skill Development, NEP 2020 mandate. So I would like to request Dr. Shweta Singh, the CSR Universe, Mr. Dhruv Narayan Mukherjee from King Oil and Gas, Mr. Nikhil Pant from Richa, Mr. Harbhajan Singh from XLRI, Ms. Tanu from Birla Soft. So I would like to request all the participants to kindly please come forward and take your seats. Since you can have 8 to 10 minutes.
Dr. Shweta Singh will be moderating the session, and she is currently the consulting editor at the CSR Universe. She has a doctorate in development communication and a diverse experience of 15 years in advocacy, research, academics, and corporate communication. Mr. Dhruv Narayan Mukherjee, let me give a brief about the panel members. This is the GM CSR Cane Oil and Gas Vedanta Group. And with 21 years of CSR experience, leads Vedanta's flagship Nandaghar initiative focusing on education, health and skill development for women and children. His strategic vision and leadership have driven impactful programs that improve rural livelihoods and promote inclusive development. Let's welcome him, Dr. Narayan Mukherjee. Mr. Nikhil Pant is the chairman and CEO Reacher, founder Lakshya. Mr. Nikhil Pant, an expert in CSR and sustainability, has over 30 years of experience designing and implementing development programs. As CEO of Reacher, he has led award-winning initiatives, including partnership with Indian Army in Kashmir. Nikhil's advisory roles with corporate and government focus on creating scalable and impactful CSR strategies, making him a key contributor to India's development landscape. Welcome, sir. Mr. Harbhajan Singh, Chief of Strategy and HR XLRI Delhi NCR. Mr. Harbhajan Singh is a veteran in the industrial relation and HR with over 40 years of leadership experience. He has held transformative roles at Tata Steel and Honda, fostering organizational harmony and advancing skill development initiatives. As Chief of Strategy and HR at XLRI Delhi NCR, he continues to drive impactful change while contributing to social and government projects. A hearty welcome, sir. Ms. Tanu Katuria, CSR and HR Specialist, Birla Soft. Tanu Katuria is a passionate CSR and HR professional with 17 plus years of experience in community development and employee engagement. At Birla Soft, she designs award-winning projects that address societal needs, creating sustainable impact through strategic planning and volunteer-driven initiatives. A hearty welcome to all the panelists. Over to Dr. Shweta.
Am I audible? Yes, I'm audible. Okay, so when we talk about education, we often feel that we've already talked about it a lot because it's the oldest domain when we come to development, and it's almost a natural first choice when somebody is starting on their social journey. You know, the first initiative you think is usually around education. कुछ बच्चों की पढ़ाई के लिए करते हैं. But when we have a country of 1.4 billion people, so we cannot ever overdo discussing and creating a discourse around effective education and skilling initiatives. And in fact, with the introduction of the National Education Policy, I'm glad that there is a renewed interest in this domain. I read yesterday that the government has already given or allotted 1.3 lakh crores in the last 3 years for the implementation of NEP. So the government conviction is there, and we are beginning to see gradual results, but of course actual results would take time to see. It takes time, patience, sustained efforts, and basically collective action. So for this, we are here today with all my panelists. I'm already excited to begin this discussion. I've already been in a discussion with Dhruv Narayan ji in our earlier events and Nikhil ji, and I'm looking forward to interacting with Harbhajan sir and Tanu. So let's get on with the discussion. So when we talk about NEP, it's built around 5 pillars. These pillars are of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. And the way it manifests is the government is now focusing on early childhood education. There's it's introducing formal early childhood education. There's more emphasis on vocational training, a more flexible higher education system with multiple entry and exit points, and of course, a very big thrust on digitization and technological upgrades. So, my first open question is, which of these aspects do you think requires the most immediate attention, or where do you see the largest gaps? You can take a few seconds to think and come up with your opinion. Whoever wants to go first. This is to all the panelists.
So I'll go first since that's one of the reasons, and we work with early childhood education as part of the project Nandkar, and we are extensively working on developing modern Anganwadis and strengthening the early childhood education in them. So straightway, if I may mention the gaps, there are challenges. Challenges in implementation of the program. While the ICDS program started in 1975, and we tried to focus on early childhood education. However, till date, it is the uniformity in encouraging early childhood education through the Anganwadis has been difficult. The major reason is the variation in capability of the Anganwadi workers. Because this position is more or less a politically appointed position, and their qualification varies from 5th pass till graduate. So you can very well imagine the problem. The second is, I think, the meager level of motivation in them to perform the work on education. And third is, since they are the last mile government functionaries, most of the time they are interested to do work other than education. We'll discuss further.
So Shweta, I have been a school teacher myself, after my engineering, and I became a primary school teacher for many years, and during those times, this was in the 1990s, I extensively read Aurobindo, J. Krishnamurti, and then some of the other thinkers like Maria Montessori and Howard Gardner, etc., even Vivekananda. I think there are two very key points here which I would want to highlight, irrespective of whether we are doing NEP 2020 or even one day do NEP 3030 also. The stature of the school teacher in society is very important. I remember when there was East Germany and West Germany, I used to read a lot how in East Germany at that time, and even now in Finland, the Finland schools are some of the best in the world, even in Singapore. The stature of the teacher in society is very high, the school teacher. If you see the kind of salaries that maybe a nursery school teacher gets and maybe the PGT gets, the nursery school teacher would be the lowest actually, and that is where the child's brain develops the most. So 90% of the child's brain develops by the time the child becomes 6 years old, which is early childhood education also. So the stature of the teacher is a very key element, and I think it's a society. जब तक हम टीचर को समाज में औहदा नहीं देंगे, तो टीचर आपको जो ड्रीम है जो स्टूडेंट का कोई टीचर नहीं बनना चाहते, फिर वो तो उन जॉब्स में जाएंगे जहाँ पे पैसा ज़्यादा है, पैकेज क्या मिल रहा है. Second is, I think somewhere in all of this we tend to forget the child, because जो बच्चा है that has to be the key focus. And invariably, I also work with so many, we visit so many schools as part of our programs. And having been a teacher myself and taught in the school for 15 years, I have taught maths and science, NCERT books. I think the time, the high quality time of teaching learning in a classroom situation that the child should get is not happening. It is not happening, unfortunately. So these two things, I think, if we can fundamentally take care of at the classroom situation. If the teachers who are coming in the school, in the government school especially, they get good stature in society, and they are the best of the mind from the community and the society who want to become these teachers. Future teachers कौन बनना चाहते हैं? उसको कुछ नहीं मिला, वो टीचर बन जाए, या वो बने जो टीचर जैसा भी हो रहा है ना, बच्चा साइंस में बहुत अच्छा तो IIT निकाल दो, डॉक्टर बन जाओ, कम मिलेगी कि जो कहेगा तुम्हें टीचर बनना चाहते हो, because social value नहीं है.
There is this change in the system where now the government is, I think it's abolishing the 2-year BEd program, and it's introducing an integrated education program that starts right after 12th. So that only the people who are actually interested in becoming teachers get into this field. Will that be effective?
Really don't know, because if I go back to the Guru Shishya Parampara, Guru is like the epitome of, if you want to be part of a very, very good Guru, like किसी उस्ताद के पास सीखने जाना है, तो उसको मिलना आसान नहीं हो. So the value of the teacher in society, there are so many factors that could be contributing to it. Maybe this will help in that. And the second, as I said, the quality time that the child gets. If I am a student in the class 2, 3, 4, 5, मैंने टाइम एंड मोशन स्टडी की है स्कूल में बैठ के 365 दिन, कितने दिन टीचर एब्सेंट होते हैं, कितनी अरेंजमेंट क्लासेस लगती है, कितने दिन छुट्टियां होती हैं, तो उस बच्चे को कितने दिन सेंसस और उस सब इलेक्शन में टीचर्स ड्यूटी पे निकल जाते हैं, तो बच्चे को जो क्वालिटी टाइम मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं है, कितनी भी बात. So till we sort out these two things, I think we will keep meandering NEP 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, I don't know how, because as a parent and as a teacher, I think these are two very key.
Sir, we don't necessarily have to focus on, if you have any other points besides early childhood education, if you want to talk more about skilling, so please focus now, you can discuss that also.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, I fully echo what Mr. said. See, the new change in the policy, what have they done actually? They have changed the system from 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. And the part which was being managed by Anganwadis, now they want to take it in the mainstream. And if you look in a different direction, but this is a system for government schools. पहले admission directly class 1 में होती थी, now they want to go for P1, P2, P3 in that model. And the intent is that these initial 3 years, the play school activity will be the main curriculum for the first 5 years. And when the child moves into class 1, by that time he has to be of 6 years in age. So the span of government's intervention on the school activity. Now, if you look other way, like if you see the private sector schools, you can educated in missionary schools. There, right from the beginning, the children were taken in nursery, lower KG, upper KG, standard 1, standard 2, and how they used to move. So I don't think they have done a lot of critical thinking and all, and they really will be able to implement it in a long term. I will tell you by my experience that at least there must be 10 or 12 state governments which do not pay salaries to the teachers on time. Almost at 60% of the schools, the teachers don't come to the school at all. They somehow now, there was in Haryana, we were trying that we will biometric attendance in the school. There was a lot of resistance. See, I happen to be the chairman of CIA from the region for skills and livelihood. So we have tried, we have seen the NLP, we have seen the focus, we have tried to focus on skills and livelihood. But the problem, at the end of the day, everything fails us when we look at the output that the entire exercise should have generated. Whether it is skill, means we keep on skilling people, hoping that they will be employed. They presume that they are employable. Industry does not consider them to be employable because of the level of skills that they have inherited through this process. And then some sort of gap is always there. Employment opportunities are shrinking. Even the multinationals or the large private sector organizations, there is a shift from manual labor to technological support systems, robotics and things. Like I don't want to employ a man on hardcore welding areas. I prefer getting a robotic welding system and put it there. So wherever there has been some sort of hardships involved in the process, they have been gradually taken care of by the these things eventually are resulting in shrinking of the employment opportunity. At one point of time, government blindly went and nationalized everything. We will nationalize banks, we will nationalize, even there was an attempt to nationalize steel, Tata Steel at one point of time. Now what is happening is that that time everything was getting nationalized and lot of vacancies were emerging, people were getting employment. But there is a saturation which comes in everything. So whenever they think, they should think it from the perspective of sustaining it. That they are not thinking. So implementation of NEP will not be easy. It will be difficult, and unless the things change at the grassroots level, the resources which are required for the school, the basic resources, you go to the rural area, you find you are all aware the students are made to sit on the ground. The basic resources, teaching tools are not available. We through CSR, I have been director with Honda and I had a massive budget, like something like 50 crores. And we did a lot of work. In a lot of government schools, we gave them classrooms and lot of ITIs. We gave them the cutting. And then there were other problems. Many ITI had so to say, no, we don't want cutting. You give us the entire vehicle. We started giving vehicles, and then I found out half the time that vehicle is being used by the guy who is having the control on the system rather than actually, dissecting it part-wise and making people learn how to assemble it. Lot of dearth of honesty in the system, and I don't blame everywhere. It's the people who are the implementers, the people who are affected by it, and that finishes the purpose. Why are the schools which are run by us are much more effective than the government schools? Why are the private schools more effective? Because, they charge you, but at least they deliver. So the people who have resources, they can spend money, they can get the best that they want, whether it is in terms of hospitals or in terms of schools. But when these things are not there, policies will come and go. And the point which sir has made, there are teachers still who are passionate about their role. They think that they are leading the nation through their job. For them, it is not a job, it is a duty. They are not bothered about their 8-hour shift and things like that. They will go out of the way to educate a guy and help him to do something good in life. But that population is very less. So those self-motivated people still are keeping that flame on so far as the teaching community is concerned. As a system, we still are far away from achieving what we should have achieved by now, what we are capable of achieving.
Thank you. I think most of the points has already been covered. Some of the areas which I strongly feel that need attention, and there are certain challenges to it. Being from IT industry, I'll definitely vouch for technology accreditation, because that's the most important point, and we understood that fact in COVID as well, when everything moved on to online. We face challenge, not only children face challenging and adopting to the technology, the same challenges were faced by the private school teachers as well. I'm not talking about government school teachers because they hardly have the resources in those areas, but even the private school teachers, they didn't know how to use Zoom, Google and all that, and so that was one of the challenges. And NEP primarily is talking about flexibility and multidisciplinary approach. So when we talk about multidisciplinary, child has the option to take the subject which is of interest, skill, aptitude. And for that, we need to prepare our educators as well. Just now, as I mentioned, that technology was the major problem at that time. So our educators also need to be up to the level what child is expecting. So we need to provide the skills, training and resources to our educators as well. So that's one area I think which needs definitely strong attention. Second is, coming back to the technology, there is a huge digital divide between rural and urban. Urban is getting very much upgraded on technology, the pace with technology is moving on. So they are moving at a very fast rate. But there are certain rural areas where hardly there is electricity, though internet is far off. So that divide also need to be addressed through some targeted intervention. As definitely early child education, innovation, all these things are focus area of NEP. Another thing when I talk about skill, there is a gap between what industry is demanding and what is being taught. So there should be an integration, there has to be a framework of industry academia. I remember when I met one of the student last month in some of the panel, and the student, and he was a BTech, and he was literally frustrated, whatever I have studied, it's nothing get implemented in whatever I am doing. So I am starting my course again, why I am not taught in the same way what industry is expecting. So there has to be the curriculum, definitely that's a challenge. There has to be a change in the curriculum which is as per the needs of the industry, and that has to come from the very scratch level based on the interest and aspiration of the child. So these are few of the challenges which I strongly feel demands attention and has to be part of the program to make NEP successful.
After NEP, the skill universities have started coming in India, and the first one to start was Vishkarma Skill University in Haryana. So I happen to be the government representative there, and what I find is that they have connected with industry. Their vice chancellor is an ex-industry man, and they connected to the level of like Haldirams and Bikaners and all, and they curated courses of halwai. And they took something like a batch size of 25 people. The Haldiram has decided that what will be the course content. They have provided their resources to train those people with this assurance that once they pass out, they will be absorbed. That's one example. There are always some rays of hope everywhere. One more example I would like to give you. We started something called Model Career Center under CII, and we run some 3-4 model career centers every year. And one particular activity which we started was we connected with some 5-star hotels, Taj, ITC, and that level. And we get children from Northeast, and we give these children, we hand over these children to these hotels to take them as interns. They are taken as an intern for a period of 1 year, just high school pass out or plus 2 pass out. And these children are trained by these facilities, and after 1 year, and during internship they don't get much money. They get something like 10,000-15,000 rupees. But once they finish it, some of them get absorbed, but majority of them go abroad and get some jobs. So we will have to think some out-of-box models which can improve the scope of livelihood rather than blindly pursuing these ITIs. You will be surprised that ITIs in our country have 25 lakhs seats per every session, but hardly somewhere around 14 or 15 lakh seats get filled. Rest of the seats still go vacant. Now a new model has been adopted, public-private partnership model, where the industries are taking over these ITI, and they are saying that okay, we will run it for you, and we will try to create a blend of our requirement as well as generalist.
Is that model working, sir? Because when I was with the CII, we were working towards this ITI adoption thing, and there was a faculty development program in which different teachers of different trades used to get trained in the corporate that was associated with it. So, in your experience, did those programs work?
Now they have picked up momentum. Once they train them, they take them as one is apprentice. Second, the government has come out with a rule that you can employ a person on term contract for 2 years. And you can employ him for 2 years, you will not have the liability to make them permanent. So that provides industry ki what is there in for me. They want trained manpower, but they don't want to carry that, luggage on them. Once they become secure and permanent, nobody remains disciplined in this manufacturing environment. So that gives them some flexibility.
I will also want to add that all these threads are all adding up, and to the point that because we have this as a CSR conclave, I mentioned 2 points. One was the stature of the teacher, and the other is the time that the child gets. I think somewhere when we are doing or funding CSR projects in school education, right now the success parameter is learning outcome for children only. How in baseline, endline, all the evaluation. Can we also change the evaluation parameters of a CSR project outcome in terms of how the teacher capacity is improving? What was the teacher's baseline and what is the teacher's endline, and not just the student? That can be very useful. And number 2, giving awards and recognition to the teachers who are actually showing substantial change and giving them good recognition in society. Can be inspiring the younger generation to become teachers maybe. Third is also as a success parameter could be, as I said, one challenge is that the church is getting less time one-on-one of quality teaching. Can the CSR intervention create those dynamics in a school like a government school where even if census is happening, election is happening, I hope if one nation, one election, if it comes soon, maybe that will change. Is the time, quality time of teaching, learning of the child increasing through the course of a CSR 12 months project? Can that also be? And when you're doing impact assessments, in that only the learning outcome is not measured. Maybe some of these teacher parameters and the learning hours of children can also become important parameters. We could then maybe change the paradigm in terms of CSR grants for education. Even I would say, as what Sir is saying, where all this Haldiram collaborations are happening, can some of the evaluation parameters be such that they align with what we want to do actually, what I'm saying?
It's wonderful, and these are very actionable insights, sir. You always come up with very, actionable points you give. When we talk about these initiatives, they seem very innovative but very fragmented. Like Sir talked about the Skill University. We also know about PPP model and the Industry Academia partnerships. They are happening, but again they are fragmented. That's why we don't see the impact. So if we want to do it at scale, we need to do it with the government. I mean, there is no scale without the government getting involved. So, Rubnaranji, my next question would be to you, because Nandghar is a very large-scale project and you're partnering with multiple state governments. So, in your experience, what should CSR implementation agencies and even corporates do to build effective partnerships with, particularly the government sector? What points are important? What do they need to take care of, and how can they build effective collaborations?
Right. So, I think the first thing is we need to work with the existing manpower who is interested to do the job. So in our case, it's the Anganwadi workers. So we focus extensively on their capacity building. There is no way we are planning a substitute for the person who has put their heart and soul on the task. So maybe there are some capabilities that the lady doesn't have. We work on that, develop their capacities. Then we categorize the Anganwadis in A, B, C. So whoever needs more hand-holding, we provide focus on that. And then as Nikhilji mentioned, there is a process of carrying out the evaluation, pre-training and an evaluation post-training. And the ones who have emerged as good trainers, we use them as a resource person to teach other Anganwadis, non-Nandghar Anganwadis. So that way, we are actually giving a huge motivation in terms of making the person trainer and also showing to her peers that if she can do, you can do as well. That's the innovation you have to bring in. That's what Nikhilji would agree when the CSR framework or policies were drafted. We asked Dr. Chatterjee what was the need for this. So the first thing he mentioned is we want corporates to use their innovation and project management skills in the social domain. So that's the whole idea what we have to do.
So I used to talk about this, and to add it to that, innovation, project management and technology as well, which I think Tanu was also mentioning. So I think answering your query, Shweta, I think when we are doing need assessment mapping and the stakeholder engagement model at the start of the project, Like in Uttar Pradesh, we are working with the UP Kaushal Vikas Nigam. So this is a project on scaling on IT based, etc. I think before you start the project, maybe a deeper level of consultation with the government system to know where you can bring in that element of 2%. Because this 2% has to be catalytic. I often call it like a surgical strike. It should be like a spark to get the whole game moving. Because this 2% is very less in absolute terms. It's just 25,000-30,000 crores in a year. Government budget is hundreds of lakhs of crores. But this should be the trigger. It should be the trigger, and the trigger should be like the Balakot strike, it's a surgical strike and then it should have high impact. So therefore, the need assessment and as part of that, the consultation that should happen. And then if you're working with government, where is it that you can come in with that innovation, project management and technology to bring in that intervention where the government then feels, if you're working with government, that you're part of their team. And you are actually going to be that catalytic force. So you are not to replace the government, but to catalyze it in a very, so that's where it's very strategic. The money is very less. So, and that's what, he rightly said, Dr. Chatterjee, when we were at the IIC, the whole idea of, guiding the corporates was that, please be very mindful. That in terms of, do not say that, you can replace the government, because that is not your mandate also. And plus, this is shareholder money. The trustee of this shareholder money is the CSR committee of the board of the company. In case of Vedanta, committee, shareholder money है. This is the profit का part है. What the government is running on is taxpayer money. I often say that CSR is a wonderful jugalbandi of shareholder and the taxpayer. And that's where the co-creation should happen, where this partnership flourish कर सकती है. Therefore, knowing where you come in, to augment, to supplement, to complement and not to replace is very, very critical as part of, and then you create that stakeholder model and then you get the whole game going with the community and the partnering and the right kind of NGO which can bring about this enablement if you're working through an NGO. That NGO has to have that capacity to create that whole engagement. So a lot of mindful planning, thinking at the need assessment level. Once that is done, I would say that this is just the start. Because then when you start working with government, the person whom you talk will get transferred. Suddenly the new guy will say, he will just do opposite of what the previous secretary was doing because this new guy has to create his own name. So detailed documentation and filing is very important. So that the briefing of the new person in the government system is not like reinventing the wheel. You go with the same file and have a duplicate copy with you also. And then say, sir or ma'am, I would like to brief you. So that they can then begin from that place onward. Otherwise you go back. That's the other challenge of working with government. And third is that they often will have very little time because they have so much of pressure, often political pressure that he also mentioned. That your time has to be like not just a T20, T10 or T1. That has to be the preciseness of your intervention. Then we will have the game on, is what I would like to say.
Thank you, sir. My next question is actually with Anu. Because we're talking about innovation, we're talking about tech-driven interventions, and you work with a technology company, you have that experience. So, there's only one major question I wanted to ask you. That technology is, even well-meaning interventions sometimes tend to exacerbate the digital divide. So, how can companies be mindful that the intervention that they're making, the technological intervention, is actually bridging that digital gap?
So I would say it's not the regional or urban-rural divide, it's a gender divide, isn't it? Right, so when we talk about, I just mentioned that urban is getting more urban in terms of technology and rural is not getting in the same pace, right? And when I talk about rural, there is again a gender parity over there. Male or boys are more prone to technology than the women over there, even if they have the aspiration. So that's also the micro level concern which is cropping up. So we in Birlasoft are working on two projects, which is Disha e-Vidya, which is dedicatedly working on the women. And that is something where they have the aspiration to learn the technology, to do something in computing, and there we are building up this divide. So e-Vidya is working on two aspects. One, starting from the very basics. What is computer? Then moving on to the skilling part where they want to go to the specialized courses. There we are working with tier 1, tier 2. The basics are in the very rural areas where we are building up the infrastructure to bridge that gap. We are providing the machineries, we are providing the laptop. In IT industry, there is a policy of taking out these systems, that is laptops or machineries, we call them systems. So basically after 3 years, but they are in very good condition. So those are used by us in setting up the computer labs in the rural areas. Every year we donate hundreds or I must say thousands of systems to the rural areas to set up the labs. Now the story doesn't end over here. So systems are there, but then we need to have a dedicated intervention, the targeted intervention for the different groups. Like I mentioned that they need to start from the scratch. So beneficiaries or the target women who have the aspiration, they are provided the trainers on a regular basis who guide them in getting those courses. Once they get into those courses, then they are into specialized courses. Enter into specialized like data analytics, Java and all that. Even in grants, they offer BTech. So we are covering that aspect for another project which is Disha. So we have an end-to-end solution. We are also working on the employment. Last year we made a facility of employment of these women beneficiaries to up to 65%. So that's how we are building up the gap which is broadening up in between urban and rural and also the gender. Another thing which I strongly feel like when the technology is there, it is very important to bring in the sustainability over here. As I mentioned in my earlier conversation, that there are areas where the hardly electricity is there. So how come internet and all this there? So now we are working on with the solutions where we can have a solar panel connected to the systems, to the internet and all that. That's something which we are working on sustainability, so that we can bridge on that gap which is created between rural, urban and gender. So this is how we are strongly working on these areas.
Next question, sir. It was for you, Arjun, sir. When we talk about industry academia partnerships, I mean, you have seen both sides of the table. So, are there any tips that you would like to give to corporates, or even if there are academic people out here, what should they keep in mind before building a program, so that the program is actually achieving its targets when it comes to industry academia partnerships?
See, the fact is that industry does not want to commit. They are ready to train, but they are not ready to commit that we will absorb this population every year. Because the training program could be for 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years. And 2 years pass like this in the life of a person. So they have to train 50 people. And every 2 years, if they keep on training 50 and absorbing 50, then they are finished. So what they prefer is, we will train, we will absorb you as an apprentice or as a fixed term guy, and then you will have adequate skill and knowledge to manage this work. But thereafter, you are on your own to find employment for yourself. That is the point of constraint. Earlier, this was not becoming possible because the provision of term contract was not there, but government has now made it. Another, if you know here, means you will find some Prime Minister's scheme of internship has come in India, where the people will be given 1 year's internship program with a stipend of 5,000 rupees and an additional 6,000 rupees at the end of the program if they have successfully completed it. To enable them to have a hands-on experience, to support the knowledge that they might have acquired through their educational rigor or maybe even through skill development. So, but at the end of the day, means I keep on asking people where there are a lot of labor troubles. Here, पहाड़ में चढ़ने के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा किसकी ज़रूरत है? And the people keep on saying, I need रस्सी and I need training, and I have to tell them the most important thing you need is a पहाड़. You need a mountain to climb a mountain. So if the industry is not there, becoming employable does not actually serve the purpose. So your level of skill should be of this level conditions and in the other skilled areas is too high. So that is another avenue which we need to explore in order to. Another problem with we Indians, especially in the rural area, is that we don't want to shift and we want the job closer to our place. That is another concern.
What sir is saying, entrepreneurship, because the kind of population that we are, eventually jobs will be only so many. And like sir is also saying, industry can't commit because the market demand are also changing. But somewhere I think, the kind of population that we have and the young population that we have, with the reach of technology reaching remote areas, and local areas having their own core handicraft, organic food, and with health is a huge issue these days. But I think a lot of focus also has to be on developing more of the entrepreneurship models, I feel. While some of that is already happening, but I think a lot can happen right from school time. When the children are doing projects, I think a lot of school projects could be entrepreneurship based, where the child groups of children could create some projects where maybe in the community they are trying to raise some revenue, some 1 or 2 rupees kind of whatever. They get into the habit of generating wealth where they are, using the resources where. You've heard of Laurie Baker, for example, the famous architect. He talks about local resources for construction and not to transport things. So as Fred is also saying, people don't want to go. But if technology is reaching out to far-flung areas, then there are local resources there. So can we go more deeper into that? That's where can the academia and industry work more on those lines also? Could be a way forward, I think. Very strong.
Should be a way forward, I'm sure.
To what Vajal sir mentioned, that in corporates we are having corporate exposure programs in which mentors are assigned to the beneficiaries who are coming over there. So that is actually helping in building that academia and industry thing, right? And each one is one of the programs which we are running, and that is not for a 1 day or 1 week program. That is something as and when a beneficiary is looking for the support, that mentor, that leader is available to support. Also, talking about internship, there was a similar program, Apprentice, that has bridged the gap. Apprentice program was also launched, and that is actually, we hired some good numbers, and they were trained in the organization as per the needs of the industry, and then they are absorbed within the organization. So that is also something which is doing well on this direction. But yes, there is many things which is required in that academia and industry integration.
I had an audience question. Yes, there's just one question that, it's an audience question, and any one of you can take it up. This is, how can technology be effectively integrated to enhance learning outcomes and scalability? Can we leverage data and AI to improve the efficiency and impact? Any one of you can take this up. Should I?
Yeah, so technology has come up very far in education as well. So we can leverage technology through augmented and virtual reality. We can work on the infrastructure development so that it can have an immersive learning education for the children, especially in the field of science, geography, history, where these can be leveraged. Infrastructure development, the most important thing which we need to work on, plus the accessibility of internet. There could be mobile apps which can work out in reaching out the technology to the children over there, and we know the way children pick up the technology. It's far what we understand the technology, what it is. Also, the teachers should be trained. The smart boards is something which is working out very well, not only in private, in government setups as well, where corporates have intervened and they are setting up the schools on smart class basis. That is working very good in terms of technology. When I talk about data analytics, there has to be some, as Nikhil sir mentioned, about need assessment. Data analytics can be used in pre-assessment and post-assessment, where metrics can be utilized, how the situation was earlier and how it has improved post-intervention, and then way forward those learnings can be implemented. chat boxes are there. So all these are few of the technological tools which can be leveraged in this sector.
Thank you. We are already at the...
I just want to add one thing, Tabu, because I'm hearing a lot of this AI. Huge energy problem is brewing because of the servers I'm told in America and various places to manage this AI. I hope this AI, people who are all behind AI, the whole idea, they are aware and they are understanding. Like the plastic, plastic now becomes a menace later on. You have plastic to save us first and then it becomes a menace. So I'm not finding too much of discourse on managing the spill-off of this AI growth that is happening. So one thing, I don't know, is there a thought in companies, because I'm reading that huge amount of energy sucking is happening with this, which will lead to this climate problem and climate change of another order altogether. Are we prepared for that?
So there are so many LLMs which is working on just for a trial basis, and that is definitely not a very sustainable solution. Organizations, some of the organizations if I talk about, and also NASCOM is working with some of the IT industries on that. We have the facility, we have the resources where such type of concerns can be addressed. For example, we are huge in water resources. We can have a service over there for the storage, for the thing. Another problem which is there is spamming of mails, which is also leading into the carbon emission. That is also a concern. So yes, definitely ESG is working on it, but not to that extent. It's a long journey which need to be covered, but yes, IT industries have become a little conscious about it, and same is required for non-IT industries, how they can utilize the resources which is available in a more sustainable manner. Just I spoke about LLM. The substitute of LLM is wrapper. I don't know whether you guys are aware of these technology things are. Wrappers are small versions of LLM and you don't have to create and put in a lot of, because creating one LLM means huge energy in terms of water, huge energy in terms of electricity, and which lead to a lot of wastage of resources. So as I mentioned, like water is there, we can put our servers over there, we have mountains, we can leverage those areas which are not utilized. Why we need to have a proper rooms to keep our servers? China is doing it, many developed countries are doing it. Why can't we think of having it? So NASCOM has started working around and having that discussion with IT industry, and so they are having that discussion with us as well. So you won't believe there are crores and crores of LLMs.
See, finally, today's solutions will be tomorrow's problems.
Absolutely, that happened with plastic. It came as a solution to cutting trees and saving paper.
So we just need to be a little mindful about this, when this whole jargon of the chase after
the
AI.
first step to at least be aware of the problem that is brewing. So anyway, we are at the end of the session, and thank you all for joining us. And I'm so glad we had this discussion. Although a discussion on education always feels like it's too short, we needed to discuss more to get on to solutions. But it's at least a step to begin with. So thank you everyone, and thank you for listening with patience.
Thank you to all the participants for their inputs on the current theme. A special thanks to Dr. Shweta Singh for moderating the session. I would like to request Dr. Stephen Raj to present the certificates and saplings to all the panel members. And it will be followed by a group photograph before we will disperse for the lunch. So I request Dr. Stephen Raj to give away the certificates to Dhruv Narayan Mishra Mukherjee, Mr. Nikhil Khan, Mr. Harbhajan Singh, Ms. Tanu Katuria, and Dr. Shweta Singh. And of course, for our photograph, group photo. Now we'll proceed for lunch to the next building and we'll be provided the coupons at the gate itself and we'll come back by 2:20 for the next session. Thanks a lot. Let's give them a big round of applause, please.
We have to go for lunch somewhere else.